friends, and welcome to the Romance Writers Room. Just a couple of admin things. At this moment, the Storyteller's Heart relay write-a-thon event is happening. So if you're in for like last minute prepping or you're like in a deadline and you need to get a bunch of things done, head over to the lovely friends who are streaming and get some work done, and you can watch us on the replay. Also, I'm pretty sure at 3:15 at Nia's channel, Vixen of Fiction is gonna run her scripting the book. They're gonna talk about Dracula. So if that tickles your fancy, check them out too. And let's say hi to our friends before my lovely friends here on screen say hi. Hello, Barrett. We got Morgan. Don't forget to cuddle up that like button and subscribe if you're feeling saucy. Or like other people who might come around say you can spank that like button too. As long as it has consent, we're good with either way. Hi, Dolores, looking for work. We got a lot of hellos back and forth. I love this. We got some Deidre. I hope you're feeling better, friend. We got some cool gamer in the house. Love the topic. We also love it. We either want to be a billionaire or we want to be attached to a billionaire. Either way works.
Hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
Uh, so, friends, how about Des, introduce yourself and then we can introduce our guest.
Yes. Hello, friends. I am Desiree M. Ortega. You can find me on YouTube under Coffee, Reading, Writing. I post videos. I also stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Desiree M. Ortega. I am one half of the co-writing duo Des LeRae. We write short, steamy romance, available on Amazon now. I am a co-host with lovely Esther here for the Romance Writers Room. And I am also a co host for the Author Tubers React. That is a monthly show over on Nia Vixen of Fiction's channel. And yeah, that is me.
And we have the lovely. If you've been in the community for long enough, you have seen her in the chat. She is a sweetest human being. Ruel, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Dee Roussel, or you can just call me Deja since that's my first name. I am on YouTube as Dee Roussel. I mainly do a booktube channel, so I mainly like just do reading vlogs and stuff. But yeah, like Esther said, I'm usually in the writing chats, just participating in all the writing sprints. So yeah.
We love having you.
Ditto. I was like, wait, what am I trying to say? Okay, yes, ditto.
What's that one?
We got some Tiffany
Oh,
too,
no.
which is having a caramel coffee to go along with her lunch.
That's going to be
Wish
interesting.
me luck. Oh,
Hmm. She's a tea
well,
drinker. It's a rare thing when she puts caffeine
yeah,
that strong in her system. So
yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
Love
Thank
that we have a new pretty face today.
Mhm.
And Barrett is like, nice to meet you. And another nice to meet you on
Mhm.
screen. Nice, yeah, it's nice to put a face to a name.
Mhm. Mhm.
But again, if in the future someone wants to come and they're not comfortable with putting a face on screen, it's fine. You can be off screen too.
Go
So,
avatar
friends,
mode.
we are going to talk about Billionaire Romance because that's what Real is writing. It's writing a Billionaire Romance, and we got the chance to read the first chapter. Um, we're gonna give you a general idea of what that first chapter is. And when we talk backstage, Real just like general feedback because this is her first array to romance. So anything that we share and you can kind of like get back, or if you have any questions that kind of like help her spitball into more ideas for her romance book will be appreciated. We got some uh wonderful romance writers in chat too, so I'm not going to say high expectations, but I have expectations on my people.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Yes, she has a channel. It's a booktube channel.
Yes.
So mm, I'm pretty sure if you like to write, you like to read, so check her out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm, So we read the first chapter, which I love because we got a sneak peek of the title of the second chapter, and I'm
Mm.
loving that you're titling your chapters.
So fun. Yes.
That really fancies tickles my fancies my tickle all of it. I
Little.
'cause yeah, it's really good. So just to set the scene, people,
Mhm.
the first chapter is not only introducing the characters, is introducing a little bit of that romantic conflict. It has what you say is a fake relationship or is it a marriage of convenience? Which trope do you think fits better with what you're working on?
Well, in the first chapter, it's actually not the guy that she's engaged to is not the guy that she's going to end up with. So,
Okay.
like, that is just the fiance that she's been engaged to for publicity reasons.
So it is pretty much a fake relationship more than a marriage of convenience. Okay, good. Um, so the setup of that first chapter is introducing the characters, introducing that initial relationship that will just evolve and devolve. And it also this throw me for a loop a little bit when I was writing. It has it feels like it has some like sci-fi elements, but then when
Mhm.
you read along, you're like, oh, it's not okay. I get it. It's just like
Mhm.
people throwing money out of ridiculous things. Um, so they it's pretty much a publicity stunt about this celebrity marrying this wonderful human being, and the entire setup is them getting into a spaceship that will get them to a specific area in space to do a wedding in space to be the first humans to marry in space. That's the setup of the first chapter. Um, anything that I have missed summarizing?
I guess just to give them a little context, we have so our main character we get introduced to. Her name is Willow, and she is currently with her father, arriving to the location to go on the ship, and that relationship is a little. It's an interesting dynamic. It's very complicated. It's not black and white.
Hmm.
Um, and then we get a glimpse into Willow and David. His name is David, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And so David is the handsome, well known, I'm guessing, very wealthy man who is well known throughout the people, cameras, everything. And you have the most doughy eyed, beautiful, seeming connection between Willow and David in front of the cameras. You're actually feeling swooned. You're kind of like, oh, is this our love interest? What is happening? And then, because we will be discussing about this, when they are in closed doors away from everyone, the dynamics significantly shift. So we're going to be discussing about just different aspects of their relationship, of what they show in public, what they are in private, what does it actually mean, what's, what is their actual relationship been, since we're just introducing them in the first chapter, but they have a history of years with this arrangement according to the text. So that's what we will be also delving into.
Nice. We also got a few people coming in like JC. Let's see. A lot of old good tropes. Yeah. We
Mhm.
got Felicia. Immediately Dolores was like, sci-fi? Did I hear sci-fi? I love it. And yes, space wedding. That was very interesting. When I read them, I was like, oh, hmm,
Fun. They're off
that
to
was
Venus, which is very cool. Oh,
yeah,
kind of like, oh, okay. It's a fun setup for also the world building, just like where society
yes,
is kind of in that present time. So very intrigued.
yeah. And also how much of a billionaire you have to be able to pay a wedding in space.
Especially the first. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah. Mhm.
Like that was like that's a whole other level of billionaire.
Mhm. Mhm.
People say that sounds intriguing. Bring on the space wedding. Yes.
Well, we'll see if there's a
Uh
wedding. I guess we'll have to wait and
yeah.
see.
100% dumb money. I was like, how? Like, can I see your bank account?
It's
Because
just because
also
they
the
can.
description that we
Mhm.
got elaborate, lavish description of everything they have prepared just to get into the spaceship.
There's a
And I
whole
was like,
ceremony situation.
again, can I see that bank account? That's just like ridiculous.
Oh man.
Dude, that's like my type of billionaire.
Should
We
we
should
should
be
be
friends.
friends?
Uh, I,
Mm.
David has a weird first impression, and
He
I
has a
think that
he
was
he gave me
I
whiplash.
think yeah,
He gave me
yeah,
whiplash.
definitely. So just general things. I didn't I really enjoyed the description. Um but at the very beginning, especially that first space, felt very sci-fi.
Yes, I got that same sense.
And that threw me for a loop. Cause I was like, wait, we're talking about billionaire romance. Why we're going to a spaceship? So either um let us know why from the get-go, or I will spread out more the descriptions and like throughout the chapter and give a little bit more time to that father-daughter relationship, because we got a glimpse of it, but I wish we had more emotion. Like why? Like because they are in very different emotional minds,
Hmm.
and you did a good job to have that make that difference. But I wish we spend more time there than all of the like space like descriptions, like probably for I'm just like looking at the chapter, like getting
Hmm.
the name of the spaceship and having the description of the spaceship. I will put that a little bit lower, like further into the chapter, not opening the chapter with that, because
Hmm.
again, that gives it a very sci-fi feel. And if we're not spending the majority of the time in space, and if space is not something that's gonna um play into the romance, then I would just like that's just a setting. It's a
Mhm.
cool setting, and it's just probably to show how stupidly wealthy this person is.
Yeah.
If that's what you're going for. Again,
Mhm.
So I
take
will
all of this with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I will say that I did like majority of the book does take place in space. Like it's pretty
Okay.
much like the journey to like Venus and then other stuff happens. So then like there's a sci-fi subplot, but I think the main
Mhm.
plot is going to be like the romance, but
Okay.
it's going to take place in space on this spaceship.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So definitely don't take it out. Just if your main genre is not sci-fi, then I would just like put a little bit down.
Mhm.
And the still can be in the first chapter, but just not the opening
Mhm.
lines.
Hmm.
How about you, Des?
Let's see. I have other well, I have other things for later on in the chapter
Mhm.
to point out. So I don't know if you want to if you have other stuff near the beginning you want to discuss before we get there. But for the most part, I was
Me
very
those
intrigued.
first. Yeah. Yeah,
I
for
was
those
definitely pulled
pages,
in
it was just like,
immediately. You go.
no, go. I just telling you that we can go. That's my feedback on those your first
We're
few pages.
Hispanic. This is what we do. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. First impression of opening chapter, I was immediately intrigued and very just curious. I wanted. At first I was thinking, okay, this is sci-fi as well, and then we started getting into the relationship dynamic between her father and her, and just the very complicated, interesting again dynamic that they have, and her dutiful kind of attitude, and his interesting way of supposedly coming off caring, but then she gives us a little hint about what childhood or what her past was like with homelessness and starvation and coldness. So you get a little, ooh, something's definitely, there's more to the story here. So that, you created a lot of curiosity of wanting to know, like, okay, what is actually her story? Who is this Willow? What is, because as of right now we're seeing her enter this lavish this situation. So I was definitely left curious to go, what was her background though? Like, has she grown up wealthy too? How did she get connected to the wealthiest, one of the wealthiest, most handsome men? Like, I'm definitely left wanting to know. So the whole, hopefully that's something you do bring in later on and address, because I'm very curious how she found herself in this situation. And let's see what else. And yeah, so for me personally, general things, there were some little things of continuity, like continuity, that I was kind of confused by. So near the beginning, we meet Willow and we see David uh, take her hand as she gets out of the limo and everything. And I was very like, oh, he seems so charming. Oh my goodness, what they seem so. There's a connection here, and she's feeling flutters. And okay, is this our love interest? Is this not our love interest? I'm so intrigued. So you had me going there. And then we come to the part later on where now David asks for them to go straight to their rooms. And so they go to their room, and someone from the ship assists them and takes them there. And when they arrive, the fairy tale gets shattered. So now we're seeing a glimpse of what really is going on, because for a second we were all swooning, and now we get a little behind the scenes with David immediately wanting to see the second room where he can go be by himself, leaving Willow alone. Now, where I felt like I got a little confused was that later on in the chapter, um, she kind of brings into attention that they've played this game long enough that we have the world well, he's saying we have had the world full of our love story fooled and see me as the good guy, and they look past your shortcomings. So all of a sudden, but then above, she's saying, now I don't know if she was saying this as in trying to convince herself or what, but when she says her mother was in a better place, that man she was marrying cared for her, the man she was marrying was her Prince Charming, the man she was marrying loved her. That that confused me because I'm like later on I'm like that's not what it seems like at all. It doesn't seem
Yeah.
like. Why is she saying that? Is she trying to convince herself that that's the reality? Because that's not the reality according to what we read,
Mhm.
kind of a deal. So that kind of stopped me for a second, continuity wise. And then I was very, I was the key, like, what is their agreement? Are they, because the whole the cute, okay, to give the people context, when they're in separate rooms, she's getting ready for bed, he knocks on her door, she opens it, and basically he's just showered, he's naked, and he sits on the bed, and she says she knows it's a cue for her that he wanted to have sex. So I'm like, oh, is this part of their arrangement? Like, is this like they agreed to put on this farce for the world, but then what's why would she, is she like are they having sexual relations? What's that dynamic
Mhm.
about? So that I found very interesting. So something that definitely needs to be addressed to help us understand why would she choose to do this if she herself says that their marriage is not going to be, it's not real. Everyone signed NDAs so they can pretend all they want in front of people, but in behind closed doors, they don't have to pretend. Um, Especially again, if this is his usual way of treating her when he says, a nice guy to look past your dot 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 shortcomings. Ooh, I wanted to be
I was
which
like,
is
what shortcomings? She's
like,
dealing with
oh,
you. Like,
okay.
huh? Excuse me.
Which is good. You're painting him already as, he's not the Prince Charming we thought in the beginning, which is good. You're starting to pull the veil back. But I definitely was left wanting to understand more their, because again, later on she goes, not that she thought it would be a love match or even a friendship, but to never see each other at all and still be bound legally to this man. The thoughts were racing in her head. So she admits that it's not even a friendship. So why did she say that he loved her earlier? And she was like, kind of, so that those are the parts that I kind of like, hold on, that's not clear.
Also, what's the arrangement that she is willing to be a sexual partner? Like,
Mhm.
what she gets from that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
are they sexually compatible, or does she gain something by giving him sex? Like, what is it entirely transactional, or is it just like they both benefit because they might be compatible sexually? Like, it just like it feels a little bit like a twist that we hope we see touch upon on the second chapter or
Mm-hmm.
third chapter. If it's not addressed, then it feels like a throwaway sentence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it was just thrown out there, and I was like, "Oh, this gave us a glimpse into something," and I wanted to understand it more. So at some
Mhm.
point, I'm like, "Okay, help me understand what's going on here."
Yeah, and I will say, I think you guys are picking up on just, like, my back and forth with how I wanted David's character, because at first, in the last draft, they were actually, like, a love couple, like, they were, like,
Oh,
together and, like, they were actually happy together. But, then, like, something happened where, like, they just like, they weren't, like, fitting together. And so now in this draft, I'm making it more of like a business arrangement, but like she's kind of like lying to herself that like, oh, like this guy like she wants to have this like fairy tale like husband. Like she doesn't want it to be like a business transaction, which is how I think I'm making it in this world where like a lot of the marriages now are just like business things. Like there's not really like a love connection there. And so yeah, I think I'm still like playing around with that idea. So I think that's what you guys are still like picking up on.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. That sounds fair. Also, we got a couple of questions. Are clear genre boundaries important in romance as it is in other genres? I mean, in romance, if you're putting something in the romance genre, it has to have a happy ending or a happy for now.
Mm-hmm.
You can throw other genres in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of being very, very clear that you have to be at least a happy for now, or you're gonna get all the romance gods against you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we got a question from Deidre about if you're gonna read an excerpt for us. That's very dependent on Rel if she wants to share something. Um, there was kind of like a answer of there's a whole subgenre of sci-fi romance, and Dolores loved that we are doing a more casual sci-fi romance because as much as we love aliens mod and monsters mod, we need some diversity in the sci-fi
Mm-hmm.
romance sphere.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
and this Richard loves your new room and background.
Thank
I
you.
know that.
At
And
night,
we
it
all
looks really cool.
yeah, and also looks very spacious. Also, hi from Angel. We also obviously Richard was like space wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a Nia. As soon as I find we got Nia, and we got also a Laura.
Laura.
And
So
I
yes.
imagine this is a full length novel.
Mhm.
And yes, a lot of this it's just gonna
Mm-hmm.
probably be
Unfold.
explained. I do remember you mentioned that she might that this iteration she's gonna end with another person.
Mhm.
Are you introducing that other person early on?
Yes. So this new person, I think I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I wrote the second chapter, but I think the second chapter is actually when she meets the second guy. And so I
Mystery
think,
man.
yeah. And so, like, their dynamic is that they don't actually know who the other person is. Because I figured, like, with the, I don't know, they both have like trust issues, I want to say, when it comes to like just money and just yeah. So they have like those things. So they're almost like secret lovers. Like, they have, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but they're just not like there's like a wall between them and they're talking like basically between like a vent. And so that's how they're like connecting. And then they're going to meet actually in person later on.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're creating the connection. You're creating an emotional connection between two people who are kind of like guarded
Mm.
because of the word that you are building, and because love and marriage is not seen as we are seeing it now in our current society. And I like that approach, making that emotional connection before making a physical connection.
I do
um
like that, especially because I think it'll be interesting because we're getting so in your face the connection between her and David. So
mhm,
then seeing the juxtaposition of what's going to happen with her
yeah,
connection to this new person and how
Mhm.
they probably will bring her some comfort and understanding that she's not getting from maybe the other person. So I'm intrigued. I like that
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Which, Deidre, for someone who's just going by our general information on the chapter, you kind of like hit a good nail there.
Mm,
Uh, but if he's not the love interest, I get why it's being painted like a cold and hot and cold, so that when we meet the actual person, we do the meet cute happens, and Mr. Steamy is like clear polar opposite. Like, even guarded people can open up emotionally when this other person is not being open emotionally.
mhm,
It will be
mhm.
a really good contrast. So, Deidre, you're going the right track, even though you have not read the chapter.
You got it.
Bear's like, ooh, who doesn't like secret lovers? Yeah,
Mhm. Love is
love,
blind.
love is
Love it.
blind.
Yeah,
Oh,
I started writing this when I was watching Love Is Blind. So
No way! That's awesome. I love it.
totally.
That was so much fun.
Glad
Oh,
that you're
great.
back and hopefully your poor computer keeps hanging on.
Mhm.
Yeah, Rams, that size are not the greatest. Teacher's like, I'm psych. Um, Let me look at my notes.
Mhm. So yeah, I would say to we have, because you're still figuring it out, we kind of get that back and forth of like the dynamic is not solid one thing. Like it's a little back and forth, because then in the end she actually is trying to be hopeful that maybe some love can come into this marriage, and again intrigued to know why she's in this situation and
Mhm.
all that. And then, so yeah, so that kind of ending would happen in a fairy tale, but she was not in one. So she clearly knows, she has hopes for something, but clearly she knows the reality of the situation. Um, so I would say, again, for continuity's sake, just cleaning up those little parts in the top where we
Mhm,
kind of don't, like, we're back and forth a little on
Mhm.
what their relationship is like and what she really feels. And again, just addressing, like, why would she even agree to have sexual relations with him and
mhm.
what that whole thing is about. But yeah, it's a strong first chapter, and I
Yeah.
was definitely, it was well written, and I was very, like, you had a good balance of description and action and dialogue and setting, and so I want to know more for sure. So I
Yeah.
was definitely ready. I wanted more.
I do have a question, and this is your decision. Uh, are you keeping the book on third POV closed because you're doing dual POVs or because you're more comfortable writing in third POV?
Yeah, I'm doing dual POV.
Okay, okay. I
Yes.
will certainly, because towards the end, Willow's voice was very
Mm,
strong,
Mm,
but
okay.
the voice didn't carry it out through the entire chapter.
mm,
Like as I read along, her voice got stronger, and
Mm,
I wish you can, if you can, try to have that strong voice from the get-go. Unless you're trying to slowly open up her voice because that's how she's like being a little close up because of her very tense relationship with her dad, if that's one
mhm,
of the reasons, and because she's like performing for the cameras, and then she kind of like opens up and her voice comes a lot more clear and more and louder because they're like in close space. So I would play with that, if whether you're gonna use the voice to kind of like showcase where she is at emotionally, or if you're just gonna nail it. Because
mm.
definitely by the last 2 to 3 pages, her voice was very, very clear. And I'm like,
yeah,
I love her voice.
yeah. Actually, until you mentioned that, I didn't realize, like, near the end, I almost didn't realize I was still reading in third POV. Like, I felt very much
It's
like I
all
was in,
therapy of me.
yeah, and but I felt like I was in her head for sure. And so I
Yeah.
had that connection to Willow. So that was well done. Cool.
Hmm.
Thank you. Um, One thing I did want to ask, like, did it feel like the pacing was a little like off? Because I think it's like 2,500 words, maybe a little over, like closer to 3,000. And I was worried that it would be like too long.
Well, because I mean, it's speculative. I can speak. Speculative. Why am I having trouble with that word? And
I cannot help you with that
I
word.
know. I think you have, and it leans almost a little sci-fi. You
Mhm.
can go the longer route with the chapters, even though it's a romance. And
Mm,
romance tends to have maybe shorter chapters depending. But because of the subgenres with this, you can go a little longer. I didn't feel at all like it was too long. I felt like it was for me, the pacing, you didn't linger too long on any one thing. Like we moved along like just enough. Maybe like, in the beginning we're in, but in the beginning you're presenting this world, so, and this setting, so we did need that moment to kind of get our footing. And then as soon as he opens the door and she comes out, things move along,
Mhm.
and we're getting to the meat of what's happening. So I felt the pacing was pretty well done. What I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't feel too slow nor too fast. If you by any chance want to have shorter chapters, I think the moment they get into the spaceship and that door closes and they're like literally in different spaces, that's when you can break into another chapter if you wanted to shorten the chapters.
Mhm.
That feels like a natural moment to stop without having people be like, okay, I can stop here. I don't have to read anymore. The people are like, oh, this is the first chapter. No, I need to read the next one. I need to know
Mhm.
what's gonna happen. But if you don't want to do that, you still have a solid chapter. It doesn't feel neither slow nor fast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Mhm.
honestly, if you're not doing suspense, romance suspense, or mystery romance, or anything like thriller romance, anything like that, your book doesn't have to be fast paced.
Mm.
Correct.
Let's see. We
Mm.
got, oh, you know what could be good too? If when she starts forming a connection with the love interest, the fake husband realizes her value and tries to fight for her love. A love triangle. That's a thought.
That's interesting. That could be something to play with.
Um, I see. I can think about my own stuff to save my life, but this story got me all excited, so my brain is working. I love
That's
it.
good. They're intrigued.
Yeah.
You're hooking them.
Dolores like, no, Deidre, not the love triangle.
Triangle.
That's true. When it's done well, it's people like it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I seen sci-fi go like 65 to 70K ish words, so you have more wiggle room.
Mhm.
Definitely. You can catch the replay. There's no stress
Yes.
about that,
Yes.
Angel. And yes, 75K. What? Though Teen Me devoured the love triangles for sure.
Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, the readers are expecting a solid word and character, so they'll read longer. So
Mhm. Mhm.
you got the
Mhm.
Geppetto. Hi, RC.
Hey. So so when it comes to romance, this is something that you feel like you're kind of dipping your toe into, so you want to kind of go in more confidently. Is there anything specifically, without giving away too many spoilers, but is there anything that you're concerned about when it comes to either the dynamic between what you want to represent with her and David, or with her and the mystery dude, our actual love interest? Is there anything that you're curious about, that you're worried or want any help?
Yeah. So I think you guys hit it like the nail on the head when you said that like I am trying to build that emotional connection first with the mystery guy. And he's actually, I mean, he's not really like a mystery because you get his like perspective, but he's the owner of the ship that she's getting married on. And so uh
Ooh.
yeah, so
So he's like
I'm
stupid, super rich because he's getting the money super rich.
A billionaire
Yo,
romance.
I am so invested in this book.
yeah, but I think the problem that I'm having right now is that emotional connection, and I feel like the scenes are starting to be repetitive to me just because like they aren't seeing each other. So it's
Mm.
also like, what do you do? Like I know you can have like interesting conversations, but
Mhm.
it's just like I don't know. I just feel like it's starting to get repetitive. And it's not even to say that like a lot of it is like a lot of build up because I feel like they meet each other like right before the midpoint, I want to say. So yeah, I don't know. And I'm aiming for around like 65, 70K. So I'm
Mhm.
not, I don't know. I just feel like I'm struggling with that pacing of building up their relationship. So
Question: have they seen each other but not known that they've seen each other? Like, have they interacted without realizing who they are to?
So no. I mean, so they've seen each other. So the guy has seen Willow from like the Willow when not the Willow from like the balcony when she's like walking into the ship. Like he's
Mhm.
seen her from there, but he doesn't know her outside of that. So she's kind of like a socialite. So she's just a social media like influencer.
Mm.
I was imagining more like Lori Harvey a little bit. I don't know if you guys know her.
No. Oh,
She's like,
that's
do you guys know who Steve Harvey is?
yes.
Yeah, so it's like his stepdaughter, I think. So she's like this
Oh.
Okay.
huge like um socialite person.
Okay. Got
So like she is Willow is that, and then he doesn't really do any of the social media stuff. And he is actually kind of like hides away from the social media aspects and just the media in general, just because of his own like family background and all of that. And so like he's seen pictures, she has seen pictures of him because he's like this mysterious billionaire from this like notable family of this like um spaceship company. But then he only sees her like on the ship when she's like getting in. But other than that, not
But
really.
does she know that's who she's talking to?
No.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
good. Yay. I like that.
Uh,
That
Deidre suggests since he's the owner of the chip, he can show her interesting things and places that only he has access. Nia did ask if they can meet earlier. If they cannot meet earlier, you can certainly have him opening certain areas so he can show her things to her, but only her. And that can open up to some variety into their moments that are not physically connected. Also,
Mhm.
I will think of what are all of those little like hurts and lies they're telling themselves that they cannot have love and
Mhm.
have those be sort of like the underlying topics they address
Mhm.
without them really addressing it, but maybe they're just like let's say he thinks it's very hard or he will never find someone who will love him for who he is the moment they see who he is and how much money he has. Like in his mind there's no separation of love and money, and maybe they have a conversation that kind of like hints that she can have a love and money separation, whether
Mhm.
because she's already well um in her economic status based on this fake business relationship, or because she already was wealthy but the reason she's doing this business relationship with David is more for her family, not for her. Like you can kind of like play with all those things and start nitpicking at the lies they are telling themselves why they cannot find love. And that might give you like a couple of different conversations you can go through.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think also what else like they can. I like the idea of like him telling her to go certain places and she has access because he left the access available um for her to get away, to have moments alone, maybe because she explains that maybe she doesn't get any time alone. And um yeah, I answered the question. You're muted. Why are you muted? That's weird.
I don't know.
Oh,
For me, red is always
oh.
red.
Hmm.
Are we talking about like alcohol? Because if
I
we
think
are,
I think that's what she's
It
asking.
sounds
Why?
very much. It sounds very
When
much
she
like
said
that.
rosé, I was like, oh, we're talking about red wine, white wine, or rosé?
Yeah.
yeah, I would do red too.
It depends what red. It depends. I gotta be in the mood for it.
Yeah. You just gotta drink with me, Des.
I know we need to make it happen.
That's we need. This is completely off topic, but we haven't done that backstage. We told ourselves that we were going to. So
Yes, this is true.
holidays are around the corner. So
That's a perfect
um,
excuse.
yeah, there's a few like suggestions, and this is also for everyone who's watching the replay. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments because this is gonna be always on my YouTube channel. So
Mhm.
Real can come back and like see all the suggestions and look at the comments and keep the ball rolling for her book. Um so Deidre kind of like agreed with Nia about maybe meeting earlier than closer to the midpoint. And she says, could they meet while they are going into the ship just briefly and show us the spark,
Mhm.
but not let us know
Yes.
why the sparks are there? Seeing she gets married, them have us go through the rooms and David change what?
What?
Wait.
I think she was saying like the them is supposed to be then. So
Yeah,
Oh,
probably.
well, no, and that's why I was saying about like whether they like see each other ahead or but don't know
Mhm.
that each other. You can take advantage of like she was saying, there's this random person on the ship, whether she knows he's the owner or not or whatever, and there is some type of connection there or some natural chemistry or something, but they don't realize that that's the same person they're talking to through the wall situation.
Yeah.
So that could be fun to like not just have them interacting, but then also as the reader, maybe us not realizing, oh wait, who's this
Mhm.
person? And so you kind of have a more time for them to interact and then later reveal it was this one all along kind of
Yeah.
situation.
mm,
Also, it kind of like can hint on how influential David is as a celebrity or however his status is by having the owner of the entire spaceship business greet them. Like
Mm.
you can have that moment, that spark, so every reader's like, what's happening? And also be like, okay, this David dude has to be like, this has to be like so important. He's so important, and cleaning his image is so important that the owner of the entire spaceship business greeted them.
mm.
Mm.
That could be another level of emphasizing how much work got into this business transaction to save his image.
Do
And
you
also
think
Barrett says it this sounds like an amazing story. So
thank you. um so yeah, do you think that if he was to meet them earlier on and like greet them, like I don't know, do you guys remember people's voices like really well? Because that's the one thing I was really like worried about. Like if
Mhm.
she did meet him in person and like they actually talked, like I feel like she would recognize his voice from when they're not like seeing each other.
Mhm. Well, because they're
unless
talking.
they have a very specific accent or like a very specific tone of voice.
Mm,
Let's say if they have my kind of accent, a lot of people could probably be like, "Oh, that sounds like Esther." Or
mm,
if it's someone who has a higher tone on their voice and they talk like they're like up in the
mm,
high clouds, or they have a very growly, very deep, very like sexy voice. Those are the things that you kind of like pick. But if his voice is very just like average, your average dude,
And
I
they are talking through like a vent or wall situation, so that could also
have some distortion.
muffle a little what the accuracy of the voice is. There could be a sense of like, would between them if they hear each other's voice. And again, it can be more like a very general like interactions where it's not like intimate interactions, but more like because in the space, think about when you're, especially I can imagine the mystery guy, the love interest, he has to be on when he's in front of people, and he's the owner and all these things. You put on a different persona, and so does she. When she's now in front of the cameras, you can almost put on like when you're on camera, you act a little more, you're brighter, you're more extroverted, or so. And then when you're in an intimate setting, you sound different, you interact differently. So that could also be why it's not obvious. There could be almost like a hint of familiarity, but then at the same time, we'll convince ourselves that logic says, no, what are the chances? That can't,
Yeah.
that's in my head, a situation.
Also, Deidre points out that considering all she has going on with the fake relationship and focusing on making sure everyone buys the relationship she has with David, her brain might not register the voice right away. It might be like Des says, like she could think, oh, this is a familiar voice, but so can be 10 other voices.
Hmm.
Especially if she's spending such a long time in a closed space with, let's say, 20 to 30 people, she might think, oh, it's probably someone that I have heard talking. It could be anyone on the staff that I have heard passing by when I ask them something, or it could be one of the gazillion people who are like fake admiring all the things and saying how wonderful I am, but they don't believe it. Like,
Mhm. And like what Deidre
I
says
gotta
right
play with
after,
that.
yeah, what Deidre says right after, because again, the logic of going, yeah, why would the
Yeah,
owner of the ship be the one talking to me through a wall? Like almost convincing herself that that would be ridiculous. That sure he sounds familiar, but what are the chances of that likely being,
yeah.
So you convince yourself otherwise. So that could still work.
Also, you cannot give her the trait that Morgan has, where she remembers fake voices. You just gotta make sure this character doesn't have that trait. I want to go through a couple of other comments. How long is before they meet face to face? Is it for most of the book she doesn't know who she's talking to, or only the beginning? And I think you
So
said they meet
Till the midpoint.
before the
The
midpoint.
midpoint,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Which I think is
Which,
good.
yeah, if you're going for building an emotional connection and kind of like falling in love without seeing their face, that's pretty much what you do in the first part of the book in
Mhm.
any romance. It's just this one happens not to have them interact physically face to face, while other romances do have them interact face to face. um and did you do agree that that short meet before they start getting to know each other without knowing they're getting to know each other could be a good other, like a good contrast when you do flip the switch on David's personality? So that's a thing that you can think. It also will help with the pinning and the longing and thinking and all that. Also, she knows what she's going through behind the scenes, but we don't know yet. And this is why it's good to just throw all the ideas that everyone has, because then she can pick like the ones that are actually
That's so
useful.
right. Yeah.
Uh, Morgan asks, how many other people are in the ship? Are there a bunch of people there for the wedding?
So there's the bridal party that I think has like 8 people. So there's like 4 bridesmaids and 4 groomsmen. And then of course, David's parents, to her father, and then just like other random guests that are also just rich. So there's like a decent amount of people, maybe 100 or so. Not like super big where it'd be like thousands, but that
Mhm.
doesn't include like the staff or anything either. So
Yeah. So there is a good chance that she can think, oh, this voice can be almost anyone in this ship.
Mhm. Mhm.
And or seeing David is important, she could be meeting multiple people while they're welcoming them on board the ship. So they are all messed up in her head. That's a
Mhm.
good hint. Because we do In the chapter, we do see them getting greeted in the spaceship, but they're just greeted by one person.
Mhm.
So if you add two to three more and just a general chit chatter around them, it might be a good way to like set it up for her not to quite remember the voice.
Mhm.
So in other words, you can play with it. It won't. It just as long as you like throw in little monkey wrenches and nuggets that like create some logic in people's minds of why maybe she didn't immediately recognize and he didn't immediately recognize.
Mhm.
Um. um
Yeah,
okay.
there's plenty of options.
Yeah, because if there's at least 100 guests plus the staff on the
Yeah.
ship, you never know who you're running into. And she's in her own little bubble at the same time because she's just playing this role and doing what she has to do. And did her father go on the ship with her or no?
Yes.
Oh, he did. Oh, so that's gonna be interesting. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have
Mm,
an interesting dynamic. I like
mm,
this draft, like they have like a couple scenes here and there, but I do want to build up that relationship just because yeah, I it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
okay.
Definitely if because you hint like her family dynamic or a family situation might have be the reason why she entered into this relationship.
Mhm.
It will be good to see not only how it affected her relationship with the dad, but like where is the rest of her family? Why he is the only one coming into the spaceship?
Mhm.
Like some family things can touch upon. You can have conversation about family with the love interest while we are not well,
Mm,
they don't see
mhm,
each other, and maybe we can see what's his family relationship, because probably like someone who's that ridiculously wealthy and being the person who is having the first human wedding in their spaceship, that has to have some dynamics there.
mm.
Mm.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, bless you. Don't choke. But yeah. So there's a lot that can be played with here. That I think when it comes to talking, as long as you're throwing in enough tension in between either her and the fiance, between also what are her relationships with the bridal party? Are they even people that were in her life that she got to pick, or were they chosen for her? And what are their like relationships? And are there petty situations going on behind the scenes behind her back? So there's a lot that you could play with as well that surrounds Willow in the midst like that she's put into the circus bubble, and then her sanctuary ends up being talking to the mystery man who ends up being the love interest. So it's all about, if it feels repetitive between them, just breaking up their scenes and creating a little tension and drama outside of, so it's almost like even for the reader, when they're together, we get to go with Willow, kind of a deal, after like the drama that she's a part of.
Mm.
So that's something to play with.
This is a good question. Does he know who she is, or both of them are on the blind?
Yeah, neither of them know who the other person is.
Okay,
Nice.
okay.
Also,
Mm.
hi, Tammy.
Yeah, because I can imagine when he does see her, he's automatically just thinking this woman's clearly in love with this guy. They're getting married. That they're
Mhm.
maybe he has his own little judgments about like their lifestyle, oh the socialite and the rich dude, famous dude, whatever, has all his own little prejudices. So he doesn't connect that it's the lovely woman who's capturing his heart.
This is interesting. Yes, and maybe when she's going to these places where she hears his voice, show her inner conflict as she will have to sneak around probably so she doesn't blow her cover with David.
Mhm.
True, true. And she also said this story is freaking cool. It is.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think, I mean, literally, the fact that you generate this much intrigue and it's only one chapter that we've read, like that's
Yeah,
exciting. I'm very curious. I want to write. I'm so I need more.
yeah,
I definitely need more after this. I'm like, I
yeah.
want to see all the ways that this could go.
Honestly, when you're ready for, depending on critique partners or beta readers, let me know and I will look at my special and probably be like, yes, because I want to know more.
Yes. Yep, you got other ones there. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. There you if you need, the community is willing and offering. So
Yeah,
it's something to take into account when it's ready to get sent to beta readers.
Thank you.
Volunteers tribute. I
I
love
can totally see the gif and be like, I volunteer, or
it.
art read, or
Or
critique, or
critique or
anything.
anything. Yes. So how are you
Is there
feeling? Are you
any
feeling a
other
little more like,
question? Yeah.
yeah, are you feeling a little more confident to like keep going in and good? Okay.
Yes, I do. I really appreciate like everything. Like it made me feel like confident like where I am right now, but then also just helping me when I go into like my revisions and like what I want to do. So I appreciate everyone.
Yay. Oh, good. I'm
Nice.
glad.
Glad that we were able to help. Is there anything else that you want to kind of like ask? Any other question? Anything that you need from us, from the community?
Um the only other thing I would ask, if you guys said that she has a strong voice, but like, how would you describe her voice? Because I feel like I'm still like it's not very consistent right now because I feel like I'm just
Mm,
playing with different
Hmm.
ones. So like in
mhm.
the first chapter, like how would you describe it?
For me, the impression she gave me was, oh, okay. Have you seen Crazy Rich Asians?
I have.
Hmm.
Okay, the beautiful rich socialite that her husband leaves her, spoiler, for that she, she plays her role always very beautifully and like that performative sense, but there's more meekness to her. So
Mm,
more
Yeah.
meekness than the one character from Crazy Rich Asians, because that's the impression she gave me. Like she's very compliant, very like do what she's told, knows what's expected of her, puts on the role, but there's still a little
There's
smallness
still
to
some
her.
oomph.
That's how I
I
felt. That was my
Yeah,
impression.
I will say if we're using Crazy Rich Asians, I will be like her outer voice when she's like portraying this. She's that character that Des
Astrid,
is
I
talking
think it
about,
is. Yeah.
which is the main dude sister. I think she's the
Hmm.
older sister.
mm,
And then when she's on her own or with people she's a little bit more comfortable, she has a little bit more spite like the main character.
mm,
Mm. Okay. Okay.
Like like and this is why I was like feeling like her voice got progressively louder as I read the chapter,
Mm.
because literally those last 2 pages that voice was there.
Yeah, she did definitely switch. I was actually surprised by how she confronted him and what she said. I was like, oh,
mm,
like that was a different personality than what we had been reading before. So that's something. Yeah, I definitely like. I got more the meek, do as what's expected in the beginning, but then there was a little spunk to her, a little fire when she
Yeah,
actually like had the guts to like confront this man who clearly is very confident, sitting there naked, expecting what he wants is going to be what he gets. And she's just like, you kind of acted like a dick. So
yeah,
maybe don't do that in front of people.
mm.
So yeah, that's the impression. So I don't know if that's what you were
yeah,
going for.
Honestly, I don't know. Like
Okay.
I'm just kind of writing it
You're
right now.
figuring her out. You're figuring her out still.
yeah.
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 And maybe sit down and think about like what personality do you feel would attract the love interest, and that being what she reveals to him, like because she's comfortable
Mhm.
and in an intimate setting with him, this is the person who comes out more. So think about who you think he sees her as, and like and how, like, what aspect of her personality, because clearly what he encounters is going to be opposite from Willow, who's out in public. So figure out how you want her to be in private compared to like how she's performing in front of
Yeah.
people, and then
Because she's also performing a role.
yes.
Like she's not gonna be able to be her 100% self with all the cameras, especially because she's not really in love with him. So there's a certain degree of performance. Um, I find this interesting.
Mhm.
She kind of like could be kind of like a Princess Diana vibe when she was like princess, and then when she transitions to more of a leader of the rebels, kind of like that's when she gets very spicy and
And that's something to consider. What do you want her emotional state to evolve as with the story? Is she numb? Can she play this role and just stick to it and be numb to it? Or does it start slowly chipping away at something in
yeah.
her that unravels in who she becomes and how she acts later on? So that's something you can think about.
Also, I would think of what's her goal and what she actually needs. Like
Yeah.
her goal might be just have this fairy tale relationship, which is all smokes and mirrors. But what she really needs is true love. That's kind of like just like simplifying it, uh, dumbifying it.
Mhm.
So like setting up those things so you know that she's acting this way because this is her goal, but actually the way her personality is, it's gonna lead her to what she needs.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because let's simplistically say that it's true, like real love. There are all different aspects of her life that she hasn't experienced that. So she's not even family or anything. So the whole, like, what she needs is to have someone or people in her life who genuinely show her what real love is and how unconditional it is, and all those different things that she's never experienced, let's say, unless she did have that with her mother figure before. I don't know what the mother situation is. So that's also something you can play with. And yeah, what Morgan's saying, the inner dialogue definitely
Will
can
help you
help
with the
create.
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again,
Yeah.
voice is something that you're just gonna have to keep working on it. That's a revision thing
Yeah.
to your
It's especially when you read it back, once you've like gotten a good chunk of the story, you will get to know who she wants to be more and how she's coming forth. And then when you do a reread of it, you'll already know from near the end who her voice was like what her voice was like. So whether it matches in the beginning when you do a reread. So there's
yeah.
time.
Yeah, agreed. Any last words, questions,
No.
anything else?
I'm excited for you. We're all
Yeah.
excited for the
This is
story.
yeah. This is really really a good idea,
Hmm.
and it has a really good first chapter. You
Yes.
just have to keep developing it.
Hmm.
It's good.
Yes.
You're on the right path, friend. You're on the right
Yes.
path.
Thank you. That's good to hear.
Yay. Yes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of like close the stream. Let us know where we can find you, Ruel.
Yeah, so I am mainly on the booktube side of YouTube. That's mainly where I post consistently. I'm also on Instagram at I think it's just at D Roussel. And yeah, I mainly post my stories. I don't really post on my actual feed, even though I need to get better at that. But those are the main two places you can find me. And of course, like I'm always in like the writing sprints and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Here's a little additional thing from D3.
Mm-hmm.
And Morgan says that this was fun.
Yes.
Where else we can find you, Des? We have missed you so much.
I've missed being here. I'm still getting like I'm getting used to this again because it's been like 3 weeks or something crazy, maybe a month.
Yeah.
So, yes, friends, I am back. I have moved house. This is the new space. So, I will be back on regular schedule starting Tuesday. So, Monday, we are not doing Right by the Moon this coming Monday, which is tomorrow. But Tuesdays, I will be back on Twitch from 1 to 4, and we will get back to regular scheduled programming. So, I will see you all around in the interwebs.
Nice. And I will be around my friends' streams. Cygnus will let me or not. We still are doing streams on Sunday, and because all of you guys are going back for fall, instead of 5 p.m. Eastern, it's going to be 4 p.m. Eastern, if I remember correctly. The nano productivity sprints on Sundays, and the next Romance Writers Room is gonna be November 19, if I remember correctly. Yes, November
Okay, I was like, you know better than me.
yeah, it's still gonna be 3 p.m. Eastern, which is gonna be a little bit later for me, but still, we're gonna keep it that way so we don't confuse anyone. And that's gonna be the holiday romance edition. So if you enjoyed that subgenre on the romance genre, come and hop in. If you are a holiday romance author and you want to come, let me know. All of our socials are in the description box, and if they're not, they will be there eventually. You know, Cygnus people. And what else? I hopefully I don't have anything else because I need to calm down. Uh, Thank you everyone for being here. Everyone says that they have fun, that they miss Des. They cannot wait to get regular Des dose. I haven't been booked on the stream working on deadline, but I enjoy listening. We love it. Love it, love it. Big it to you, Esther. I will. I am. I try. Bye everyone. So we'll see you on the another